Okay, everybody, I'd like to introduce Jono Brent, and we're at, can you say it for us,
It's
Jono?
Connetics.
Connetics.
Yes.
And Jono is the CEO of Connetics, and he's going to talk to us about the roles and skills of managers and leaders at Connetics. So thank you, Jono.
My pleasure.
Could you tell us a little bit about the vision and mission of Connetics?
Absolutely. Connetics is an electrical contractor whose home base is in Christchurch. Our vision is to drive a sustainably profitable business, which whilst might seem like an interesting vision, but contracting is a game that's all about day-to-day survival. And our job as a company is to make sure that we can drive a sustainably long-term focused business. And one of our biggest aims and biggest missions in the marketplace is to have a very strong customer reputation. Contracting, and especially electrical power contracting, is something that people only usually deal with when something's wrong, as opposed to when something's right, because they only ring up when their power's off. They don't usually ring to tell you when the power's on. And as a result, a lot of the stuff that we are involved in starts out as a negative, and it's our job to turn it back into a positive by putting and reinstating the power or bringing new power to new facilities. So we have a vision of being a bit bigger and bolder and long-term sustainably profitable.
Okay, how many staff have you got, and are you situated only in Christchurch, or do you work right through the country?
Okay, 250 staff. Started last year at 220 and employed about 50 staff last year, but have lost a few as a result of the earthquakes, so 250 in total. We operate predominantly in Christchurch, but we have 5 staff operating in Palmerston North, which is a new venture, and we have the odd staff scattered around doing other bits and pieces around the country.
Okay, now, do you want to get that, or are you okay?
It's fine, I'm sure someone... it's Friday afternoon, can't be that important.
Okay, now when we talk about managing functions of planning, organising, commanding, communicating, controlling, motivating, does one person do that, or do you divide it up amongst different managers, or how does it work here?
It's certainly divided up across a wide range of managers. Some of it has different responsibilities. Myself and the corporate team probably take a lot of the responsibility for the planning, and that's the strategic planning and vision process, etc. Organising and commanding and communicating is a multi-layered thing. We have about 4 layers of business and management in this organisation. So there's the CEO and what we call the corporate team, which are my direct reports. They then have their own bunch of direct reports, which manage the large proportion of the staff. And we have sort of technical managers like HR and IT, etc., things like that. So with regard to organising and commanding and communicating, that's everybody's responsibility, but they're all working towards a strategic plan. What we do to handle that is we have a cascading strategic plan. So the strategic plan is only about a 4 or 5 page document which outlines our plans for the next 5 years. We have a tactical plan, which is sort of like the key result areas in each of the that breaks down from the strategic plan, and then we have annual business plans, which each of my managers and their direct reports are responsible for the delivery of. Motivating, I think, is everybody's responsibility, whether you be a leading hand or a workmate or a manager or a supervisor or even my role. If we don't all work on that component, then that motivating won't happen.
Okay. Now, levels of management. So what we're thinking of, you've got your senior management team, your middle management, your foreman,
Yes.
right down to your staff. Is yours quite hierarchical, or do you see it as pretty flat?
No, I'd say it is quite hierarchical. We definitely have it sort of I have 5 reports, and each of those 5 reports have about 5 reports, and of each of those 5 have about 5. It's where it gets a bit flatter is that a leading hand might be in charge of, say, 15 to 20 guys, because it might be 3 or 4 different crews. So that's really where it gets a bit flat, but definitely through the senior roles it's more hierarchical.
Okay, and not on the agenda, but I was just wondering, is there a reason for that? Is it the nature of the work, or the nature of the people, or a bit of both?
It's probably a combination of both. Our roles, our projects are quite dynamic, and so you have to have quite a lot of active management of them. So if you have too many direct reports in your structure, it's hard to manage across such a wide range. But also too, I think maybe we work in an organisation where maybe there's a bit of maturity still required from our employees, and so they need a bit more sort of close management. I think if you work in a more of dynamic industry like IT or that, where you work with more professional people, maybe they can work less supervised. But we still believe that we need that active supervision.
Good description, thank you. Now, just sort of moving off management levels onto styles.
Yep.
Would you guys say you're authoritarian, paternalistic, democratic, laissez-faire?
I think there's a combination of those. I would say that if I was going to group us, would be in the sort of combination between paternalistic and democratic.
Yeah. We
certainly try and engage with our workforce to get as many of their thoughts and to be involved in the decision-making process. And sometimes depending on the type of decisions made, the managers like to consult, but then they are responsible for making their own decisions. But in other times, the best decisions are made when everyone gets buy-in, so democratic. I certainly don't think we're authoritarian. Well, I hope sometimes. I hope we're not. But there are occasions when I have to be.
Yeah, like crisis and stuff like
crisis.
that.
During the earthquake, we got very authoritarian because we just said this is what has to happen and this is when it's going to happen.
Yeah. And people were in shock.
They were. People need to be led. People need to have decisions made for them when they're under that sort of stress. I don't think we'll ever probably be laissez-faire just due to the technical and compliance nature of our organisation. We have quite a lot of strong rules about health and safety and compliance, and so they need people to be guided and instructed on what needs to happen.
Cool. Now, obviously you have formal leaders, but are you aware of leaders that aren't appointed but are actual leaders, positive and negative in your workforce?
Yes, we do laugh, but absolutely it's true. We have a number of informal leaders in this organisation, and it's interesting, we've got a workforce that we have a lot of people over the age of 50 and we have a lot of people under the age of 30. Yeah. And a lot of the time the guys that are over 50 have been in the industry 20 or 30 years, and through that experience and they take an informal leadership role. Yeah. Whether they actually should or not is another debate. Yeah. But they do. We've also got guys that are technical experts that people look up to. So they will go to that person for the resolution of the challenges. Just because of their skill set.
And they may not necessarily be appointed in a leadership role.
Absolutely not. No. We certainly, outside of roles such as employment roles, we also have things like people who are union delegates, health and safety representatives from their team, self-appointed annoyers of management. There's people like that who take on that role. So, there are a lot of that sort of thing. And as you said at the start, we laugh about it, but sometimes they're good at what they do, and sometimes they're a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
But that's okay.
Same in every workforce, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Now, Jono, you're aware of the motivation theories of McGregor's X and Y?
Yeah, I have. And actually, from the presentation here, there's some pretty good documents about it. I mean, it's something that I learned when I was doing my studies, but I haven't talked about a lot in the last few years. What we are here at Connetics, I would think that we are closer to Y than X. Yeah. I think would be the way. I mean, it's the way I like to manage and motivate. Whether we do that all the time is a bit of a challenge. But I think that if we were aspiring to be where we are, we would aim towards being in the Y space rather than the X space. Yeah. I think it's an interesting challenge. We have a few people in our workforce that are. Don't really aspire to be much more than what they are now and need a lot of poking. But we also have a huge proportion of the workforce, especially the younger workforce who have come through our operation, learning their trade, learning the skills, really motivated to go off and do cool things. They don't need that sort of same motivation, so the Y sort of fits more than them than the X. So we try to keep it as much to the Y as possible, but I'm sure at times we delve into the X as well.
I think generationally, younger people are looking for motivation, for reward in their job experience as well.
Absolutely, lots has been written about Gen X, Gen Y, and baby boomers. And Gen Y, we've got guys in our organisation who, not long after they arrive here, have got their eyes on my seat and the organisation, and good luck to them. But they've also got to realise that just because they've been here 10 minutes doesn't mean they know everything. They don't have all the health and safety rules. They don't know how to manage other people and manage staff and things like that. So they do have a bit to learn, and they can learn a lot by actually looking at how the old guys who've been here a long time manage themselves and manage other people.
Absolutely. Well, Jono, that is fantastic, and thank you very much. And we hope to invite you out to school in the near future, and we appreciate you helping us out with this unit and being our case study.
My pleasure. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.